Howdy folks, in this video we're going to talk about the built environment created in Attack on Titan, with no better subject than their iconic walls, what they are, and an analysis of their failures. Let's go! Spoiler alert for the first 2 to 3 seasons. Attack on Titan is an anime written by Hajime Isayama that depicts a dystopian past pitting humans against these enormous but mindless humanoids called Titans. And humanity, reduced to 500,000 people, has walled themselves in as protection against these monsters, which typically vary in size from 3 meters to 15 meters in height, though the largest ones far exceed that. Outsized but not outsmarted, humanity has devised methods for dealing with these monstrosities, with omnidirectional mobility gear, these large box cutter knives, and a wall encompassing their vestige of free land. We've got some heroes, and a compelling story that gripped me from the first episode. Now, at the risk of sounding like a lunatic, let's take a closer look at these walls, but as a structural system.
These lunatics all worship the walls as if they're some kind of gods.
Some basic things we learn about the walls are that they were built 100 years ago and had been safe until the attack of the Colossal Titan. They're 50 meters tall with pilasters at about 20-meter intervals. The walls are actually infilled with Colossal Titans and finished with a layer of hardened Titan skin. They've been breached on at least 3 occasions, twice by the Colossal Titan and once by the armored one. And according to Armin,
the walls are different. There are no signs of stress, no cracks, no crevices between the rocks. We can't even really tell how they were constructed.
So, popular show that it is, unsurprisingly, I'm not the first person to analyze these structures. They've been the subject of other YouTube videos, as well as a portion of the book, The Science of Attack on Titan by Rikao Yanagita. In their investigations, these guys did the math to figure out how many Titans could actually fit within the walls. Essentially fact-check a line from the manga that says there are millions of Titans housed within them. And both of them found that, no, there are likely only 500,000 at best, maybe 1 million if they're doubled up back to back. So, that's it. Video over, right? Well, let's try something different with our analysis. First, what have we got?
This is a wall!
A wall acting as a structural system. Taking a more diagrammatic approach, if I were to cut a section view through it and look at it from the side, like a piece of cake, we'd get a glimpse of this wonderful wall here. Showing it somewhat geometrically to scale, we can see that it's tall and sort of thin, but not exactly slender like Corrin's Tower that we previously reviewed. Check it out after this if you haven't yet. But the wall wouldn't be shown exactly like this, right? To prevent any movement where it meets the ground, we'd probably want to have a foundation of sorts, and it's filled with Titans. Whole Titans, surrounded by some shell thickness of hardened Titan skin. And of course, some applied loads, like wind and self-weight, although these are inconsequential compared to the devastating impact from the Colossal and Armored Titans. Impacts that of course caused the wall to fail, which brings me to the main point of discussion today, describing these walls in terms of their failure.
God, please, not the wall!
The falling of Wall Maria and Wall Rose in the first season brings about an interesting point on the criteria for structural failure. Wall Maria has over 1.5 million meters of wall length that must stay intact in order for it to be functioning properly, but with a swift kick from the Colossal Titan, or a charging Armored Titan, breaching just a fraction of a percent of the length at a key location, and the primary criteria for success of keeping Titans out is no longer being met. So I want to think a little bit more about the term failure. This civil engineering publication defines it as an inability to meet a performance threshold. Now, this language doesn't evoke the imagery of destruction or what we think of as a failure of the built environment. It's sort of vague and highly dependent on whatever the performance threshold is. For the widely adopted International Building Code, at least for structural purposes, they state to establish minimum requirements to provide a reasonable level of safety through structural strength and stability, safety to life and property from fire, explosion, and other hazard.
This is Jack Bauer, we found the bomb.
Pretending that I'm the very lucky engineer that gets to design these walls, I want to make sure that all Titans could be resisted without critical damage, i.e. providing adequate strength, the stability to not move outside of the original shape or its configuration that it's placed in, and some amount of resistance to weather events, extra thermal events, or even sabotage events. But as the age-old profession of architecture goes, we draw from experience. How has our collective experience in the past gone, and how can that help us understand how a design might come about? Looking out at a landscape of the built environment, we've got a plethora of structural systems that mimic the walls of Paradise. Easy comparisons can be made to the Great Wall of China, the American-Mexican border, or others which serve the similar purpose of keeping out foreigners, let's say. Though the Great Wall never had to deal with a 40-foot-tall Mongolian. Rather than a planned attack, the event can see many similarities in the failing of a dammed lake. A lake dam? A dam. Given that a small breach precipitated widespread destruction throughout the system, the comparison seems apt and perhaps more accessible than archaic people fences. Under international humanitarian law, dams are considered installations containing dangerous forces due to the possibility of massive destruction on the civilian population and environment. Failures are comparatively rare, but can cause immense damage and loss of life when they do occur. For example, the 1975 failure of the Banqiao Reservoir Dam in the Henan province of China caused more casualties than any other dam failure in history and killed an estimated 171,000 people, displacing another 11 million. Scanning the literature on dam failures over the last few hundred years, we can arrive at a handful of reasons why these devastating events have occurred. There's design errors and its negligence, construction errors and negligence, poor maintenance, unanticipated loading, and earthen instability. These causes could probably apply beyond dams for structures in general, though each of these causes on its own may not take down a structure, as designers do use factors of safety. Still, failure can be brought about through multiple means. So all this being said, I think an argument can be made that the threat the Titans pose is akin to a force of nature that is chaotic and unpredictable. The arrival of a Titan twice the size of any other seen in the 100 years since the wall's inception could be viewed more like the floods of a 1,000-year rain event. Often the building codes would only have a designer applying loading that could be reasonably expected to occur within the lifespan of a building. A 700-year wind is commonly used for high-rises, for example. So the obvious cause would be that there was an unanticipated loading, far beyond what anyone would have expected. But an interesting point about Wall Maria's failure is that it was not just caused by a kick to the thick base from the biggest Titan. As we learned, the Colossal Titan isn't one of the mindless ones, and he knew exactly where to make his breach. At the gate, the proverbial weak link in the chain, which does present itself as sort of a design error that the gate was not more protected, though even saying that feels a bit too much like I'm playing Captain Hindsight.
Then they should have had a backup safety valve to that backup safety valve! My God, he's right!
Though imagine with me that the Colossal Titan had hit the wall with a fist or knee above ground elevation. It wouldn't have been the same issue, right? Like a puncture in a dam above the lake. The pure Titans would have had much more difficult time trying to climb up and reach the entry point. So it's not just that a failure occurred, but that it happened at a location that was critical to the function that the structure was serving. Moving on, if we take failure to be any breach of a Titan, the Beast Titan also achieved this feat when he climbs over Wall Rose, which is indicative of an unknown factor. Nobody knew a Titan could do that. It's hard to design for something you wouldn't have conceived as a possibility, like the water behind a dam suddenly assuming different hydraulic properties.
Oh no! What if there's a species of Titan we haven't seen yet that knows how to dig?
So hopefully this video has been enlightening to either fans of Attack on Titan, about the physical world that Isayama built, and to engineering folks who might see AOT as their next binge watch. Alright, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the content. Please like, subscribe, and leave a comment below. Let me know what you think. Are there other pieces of media or games that have cool aspects of their built environment that you'd like to see a video on? I'm always happy to hear what people are interested in. So thanks again, and with this, I'll leave you with more wall content.
Precast plank, it comes 30 feet long, 40 feet long, 50 feet long. There's no ladder going over that. If they ever get up there, they're in trouble, because there's no way to get down. Maybe a rope.